Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the opening ceremony of the launching of the ESA Regional Code of Conduct on Integrity, followed by the workshop. We are privileged to be graced by the presence of such an enthusiastic audience. I'm Rajeev Gobin, Officer in charge of Internal Affairs, and it's my honor to be your Masters of Ceremonies for this launching ceremony. Today, we are here to engage in an important dialogue about integrity and ethical conduct in our region. As we navigate the complexities of our roles, the Regional Code of Conduct on Integrity serves a vital framework to guide our actions and decisions. During the 2 days, we will explore how effectively we will implement this code in our practices and foster a culture of integrity. Ladies and gentlemen, your involvement reflects a shared commitment to fostering ethical standards and promoting integrity within our communities. Now, without further ado, let's begin our program. It's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Ms. Faith Mosongo, the Program Coordinator of the World Customs Organization East and Southern African Regional Office for Capacity Building, for a speech. Mrs. Mosongo has been a key advocate for the implementation of the Regional Code of Conduct on Integrity, and her insights have shaped many discussions. She is in charge of implementing capacity building initiatives for 24 member countries in the region across 4 regional objectives: promoting trade facilitation and integration, revenue mobilization and modernization, enhancing security, compliance and enforcement, in professionalism of human capital and partnerships. Mrs. Mosongo serves at the WCO, having been seconded to the office by the Kenya Revenue Authority, where she worked as a supervisor in the Customs and Border Control Department, specializing in international trade affairs, and was the national project manager of the Authorized Economic Operator Program. Mrs. Mosongo holds a master's degree in business administration, in strategic management, a bachelor degree in science, a postgraduate diploma in customs and tax administrations. She is also a certified performance management professional, amongst other qualifications. Dear guests, please join me in welcoming Mrs. Mosongo on this stage.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning once again, and welcome to the launch of the ESA Regional Code of Conduct on Integrity and its subsequent workshop on its implementation, all being held in this beautiful paradise of Mauritius. I'm sure you've had a chance to look around, and if not, we will have some time to go through the paradise together. Directors General, distinguished guests, first of all, allow me to convey the regrets, and appreciation of our Director of the World Customs Organization, East and Southern Africa Regional Office for Capacity Building, Mr. Larry Liza, for not being able to attend this meeting. He regards Mauritius as his second home and fondly refers to it as paradise. As you may all be aware, the Regional Code of Conduct on Integrity was adopted by our 30th Governing Council that was held this year in Namibia. This was following a vigorous drafting process that was aggravated by the short timelines within which this important document had to be delivered. It's important to note that our integrity champions who formed the working group are all either directors and managers in their respective home administrations, hence it required much sacrifice of their time. What is also unique about this group is that unlike other working groups we've had, literally all the members were actively involved in this process. Hence, we have a wholesome document that reflects all our members in the region. Having been part of this working group and having sat in many working groups in this East and Southern Africa region over the years, I have to attest that this was one of the fastest working groups that we've held, actually the fastest, to be fair. They were committed to diligently deliver this document, and this document can be referenced globally. And this was done within a short period, in about 3 working months. Surely they deserve an acknowledgement, don't we agree? A clap for the working group. Thank you very much. It could also be unjust to mention, not to mention that this was made possible by the incredible guidance of the working group leadership. The chair, Mr. Rajeev Gobin, who's a team leader in charge of internal affairs in MRA, please identify yourself so that we can all see you. This was our chair. Our deputy vice chair, Violet Mulubwa, the ethics manager of Zambia Revenue Authority. If you could please stand up so that we can see you. And our dear secretariat, Miss Gloria Shekanebo. She's the manager for ethics and integrity at the Uganda Revenue Authority. I could also like to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Aisha Sobron, the technical officer, internal affairs, Mauritius Revenue Authority, for her dedication. I'm sure all the members of the working group who are here can attest to her professionalism. Ms. Aisha, please, thank you so much. And finally, please allow me to recognize all the champions, the members of the original working group that are here today. If you could please stand up. Don't be shy. All right, so following the adoption of the Regional Code of Conduct, the regional working group has continued to meet to map out the implementation process, both at national and regional level. Members of the working group are engaged in comprehensive discussions on the roadmap to achieve set objectives, including the implementation process. We are now moving towards the implementation phase of the Regional Code of Conduct, whose outcome relies heavily on the support provided by integrity champions and the new members of the working group, the coordinators, as nominated by your respective administrations. Given the implementation phase of the Code of Conduct is expected to span between 6 months and 1 year, it will therefore not succeed without much needed training and guidance. And it was for this reason that we are going to hold the workshop on the implementation of the Regional Code of Conduct. It's also important to mention that the Regional Code of Conduct remains a living document, and as such, you are encouraged to participate actively, to look at any areas that we might have not included, and so we can consider it as an improvement for the working group. Ladies and gentlemen, I humbly encourage all of us to participate actively in these discussions. Once again, thank you, Vice Chair, and your wonderful team for having us in Mauritius. While we look forward to a fruitful meeting, we also look forward to exploring the natural beauty and hospitality of this beautiful country. Asanteni sana, Mercy, bon dia, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Mosongo. We are grateful for taking the time to speak with us today. I'm still blushing. Your outlooks have unbolted up new avenues for dialogue of integrity. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for acknowledging the hard work of the virtual working group. We shall now listen to the pre-recorded message of Mrs. Andrea Hampton, Integrity Lead and A-CIP Program Manager, World Customs Organization. Mrs. Hampton is a Senior Program Manager and Governance Expert with over 18 years of experience formulating and leading and implementing of large technical assistance and organizational change initiatives. She has been leading technical assistance and capacity building activities in the World Customs Organization since 2016. Let's lend an ear to her message.
Dear colleagues, good morning. Chers collègues, bonjour. I would like to thank the Mauritius Revenue Authority for inviting me to share WCO views and perspectives on customs integrity, and in particular, to emphasize the value added of a regional code of conduct and integrity, and its links with national and administration level codes. I'm pleased to acknowledge the presence of officials from customs administrations from the East and Southern Africa region, who have all been identified as leaders in this field. Your official nomination as ESSA Regional Integrity Coordinators is a sign of a strong commitment to building and consolidating integrity in customs for your region. As some of you know, the WCO Anti-Corruption and Integrity Promotion, or A-CIP, program that I also lead has been spearheading many integrity-related initiatives, including supporting the development and use of codes of conduct to foster ethical behaviors at all times. Building integrity is not a one-person, one-institution task. The WCO is a strong advocate of collective action. Partnership with WCO members, such as the Mauritius Revenue Authority, and communities of practice, such as the one you are in the midst of creating in the ESSA region, are important examples of collective action. Collective action provides a means of delivering change that is beneficial to a range of actors, both in and outside government. Collective action reduces the risks of any single organization going it alone in trying to tackle or stand up to corruption. However, the collective part, bringing together relevant organizations such as customs, tax, and other border management agencies and relevant businesses for dialogue, is often easier than the action part. Unrealized collective action is just dialogue without impact. The focus of collective action must be on identifying and tackling specific problems that are of mutual concern and for which reform and progressive actions will deliver results for all involved. The same risk exists if a regional code of conduct or national codes of conduct remain on bookshelves collecting dust. A code of conduct serves as a foundational tool for integrity. A code of conduct can be value-based, rule-based, or both. I understand that the new ESSA Regional Code of Conduct on Integrity emphasizes 9 corporate values, including integrity, transparency, and accountability. This way, it can be complemented by national codes of conduct, often rule-based, that in addition provide standards of behavior to be observed regarding the moral and professional obligations of employees towards one another, the administration, clients, stakeholders, public, and society in general, provide guidance to employers and employees facing ethical dilemmas, and provide detailed orientations on what actions should or should not be taken and may spell out explicitly sanctions for unethical behavior. Foremost, a code of conduct is not useful if management do not have the courage to take action in cases of corruption, misconduct, or malpractice. It means words alone are not enough. We all acknowledge the role of customs in trade facilitation, safeguarding economies, and protecting societies. We all acknowledge that integrity is vital for building trust, collaboration, and adherence to the values that define us. This workshop is an opportunity to discuss the ESSA Regional Code of Conduct and Integrity, but more specifically, how to translate those words into concrete action. I can only encourage you to actively engage in discussion, exchange insights, and strengthen this community of practice to promote an ethical customs community across the ESSA region and within your own respective administrations. I could not close my speech without talking about performance measurement. I hope that you will also invest time in discussing how you will measure the success and the impact of this initiative. However beautiful the strategy, you should occasionally look at the results. In this case, however beautiful the regional code of conduct and integrity, what will be its impact short and long term? This is for you to decide and take forward as integrity coordinators. You are the key people to make this happen. In closing, speaking of collective action, I am grateful for the work of the ESSA ROCB in supporting this initiative. I'm also grateful to see Mauritius Revenue Authority playing a lead role in this initiative, especially given their immense contributions already to this topic at the WCO on the global level. Thank you to both the ROCB and MRA for giving me this opportunity to speak. Because most of all, I'm grateful to know that you all will be joining and actively expanding the group of committed colleagues across the customs community currently learning and working together around the critical topic of integrity. I hope you will engage not only in your region, but also within the WCO's wider community of practice. For example, I hope you will dig into, explore, and utilize the WCO's integrity-related tools and instruments available to all members, as well as participate in our next Integrity Subcommittee meeting, open to all members in early March next year. Finally, please allow me to reiterate the WCO's own commitment to continue supporting its members in providing resources that help convert words into action and build integrity for customs. I wish you all a very productive week. Thank you.
We are grateful to Mrs. Hampton for her message. It's now my distinct honor and pleasure to welcome our DG, Mr. Sudhamo, the Vice Chair of ESA and MRA's Director General, to formally open and give us the words of welcome. Mr. Sudhamo was appointed Director General of the MRA in May 2005. Prior to that, he served at the Central Board of Revenue in Pakistan as Commissioner of Income Tax and Wealth Tax. He was also a Chief Revenue and Director General and member of Tax Policy and Administration. As Director General of the MRA, Mr. Sudhamo has engineered a complete transformation of revenue administration in Mauritius. Today, the MRA is recognized as a revenue authority model for the region. In a nutshell, the main achievements of Mr. Lal in the field of revenue administration in Mauritius are successfully integrating 4 different revenue departments within different work cultures and ethics into one single revenue administration, maintaining a continuous tax reform agenda which encompasses major income tax reforms, introduction of various tax incentive schemes to promote tax compliance, innovative and quality service, ISO certification, amongst others. Transforming MRA in an IT-driven organization and inducing taxpayers and stakeholders to embrace automation through a myriad of incentives and facilities. The e-filing of income tax returns is almost 100%, whilst e-payment is around 99% of total collections under his strategic leadership. Thank you, sir. Overhauling the human resource framework of the erstwhile revenue departments to introduce new framework conducive to greater effectiveness and efficiency, and leading the transformation in customs department into a trade facilitator through automation, risk management, and reduced cargo dwell time. The work of Mr. Sudhamo as Director General of MRA has been recognized both locally and internationally. Under his strategic leadership, the MRA has been the recipient of several awards and accolades, such as the Best Integrity Framework Award in 2006, and then again in 2010. The Public Sector ICT Excellence Award in 2011, the HR Excellence Award in 2011 and 2013, this is at domestic level, and the ATAF Innovation Award and Best Design Award for tax stamps at the international level. Mr. Sudhamo is currently the Vice Chair of the World Customs Organization East and South Africa region with effect from June 2023 for a term of 2 years. He also served as the Chairperson and President of the Commonwealth Association of Tax Administrators, meaning CATA, an association of tax administrators from 47 Commonwealth countries, and in October, that is this month itself, he has been reappointed as chairperson. So that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together to welcome MRA DG, Mr. Sudhamo on stage. DG, sir.
Good morning. It's an honor to be in your midst at the opening ceremony of this training initiative organized in collaboration with World Customs Organization's East and Southern Africa region for capacity building. The launching of the Code of Conduct on Integrity for WCO ESA on this occasion represents a vital milestone in our shared journey towards enhancing integrity across revenue and customs administrations within our region. First and foremost, I wish to extend my deepest gratitude to our chief guest, Dr. Navin Beekarry, Director General of the Financial Crime Commission. Your presence, despite a demanding schedule, underscores your steadfast commitment to the cause of integrity, a value we are here to uphold. I would also like to thank Mr. Larry Lisa, who for unavoidable reasons couldn't join us. Larry Lisa's dedication to regional capacity building is invaluable to our mission of fostering ethical practices and accountability. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Vice Chair of the WCO for Eastern and Southern Africa, I am proud to witness the culmination of our collaborative efforts in this Code of Conduct on Integrity. This code is not merely a document. It is a pledge of our collective intent to cultivate an environment where ethical values are both celebrated and practiced. It will serve as a guiding framework for revenue and customs administrations across our region to combat corruption and promote fairness and accountability in our services. By embracing these principles, we take a significant step towards nurturing a culture of integrity that reflects our shared aspirations for a more just and transparent governance structure. As we embark on this training journey together, let us remember investing in our staff through training enhances their skills and at the same time strengthens our organization as a whole, paving the way for a more resilient and efficient future. Regular joint training and workshops enable us to share knowledge and equip our personnel with the tools needed to tackle challenges effectively. Ladies and gentlemen, the ongoing collaboration between the Mauritius Revenue Authority and the Financial Crime Commission has been instrumental in implementing strong mechanisms that uphold ethical standards and legal frameworks. By pooling our resources and expertise, both agencies work hand in hand to combat financial crimes, such as tax evasion and money laundering, and most critically, to mitigate risk associated with corruption. Our cooperation has strengthened our ability to refine policies, address vulnerabilities, and foster transparency and accountability in our operations. Together, FCC and MRA remain committed to upholding ethical conduct and creating a secure economic environment that benefits all citizens. As Martin Luther King wisely said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. With this in mind, let's join our forces in the fight against corruption, reinforcing integrity and good governance. As we reflect on this important undertaking, let us be guided by the words of C.S. Lewis. Integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. This timeless insight encapsulates the essence of a mission and reminds us that true integrity lies in unwavering adherence to our principles, irrespective of external oversight. In an increasingly interconnected world, a robust regional code of conduct on integrity is the bedrock of good governance, ensuring that we uphold the highest standards of ethical behavior and accountability. Our collective presence here signifies a unified commitment to combating fraud and corruption. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to express my sincere gratitude to the collaborators from the ESA region, where support has made this initiative possible, as well as to the integrity coordinators participating in this workshop. Your engagement reinforces our shared dedication to this noble cause. This initiative has strengthened collaboration among our regional administrations, facilitating the exchange of best practices and empowering our institutions to combat fraud and corruption effectively. Finally, let us remember that integrity is a shared responsibility that transcends individual borders. Let us carry this ethos forward, actively engage in this workshop, and collaborate with one another to foster a brighter future for our region. I thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, DG, for your insightful message. Your commitment for integrity is inspiring and resonates with all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has now come for me to welcome Dr. Navin Beekarry, Director General of Financial Crimes Commission, for his keynote address. Dr. Navin Beekarry is the Director General of the Financial Crimes Commission, Mauritius. He was the first commissioner of the Independent Commission Against Corruption in 2002 and held the position of Director General A-CIP from 2016 to March 2024. He's a lawyer, an expert in the fields of anti-corruption, anti-money laundering, asset recovery, and terrorism financing. He has worked for the IMF, the World Bank, UNODC, and the G20. Dr. Navin Beekarry has also held an office at the Attorney General's office in Mauritius from 1984 to 2002, the post of Assistant Solicitor General and Acting Director of Public Prosecutions. He was a visiting scholar and researcher at the Harvard Law School and an associate fellow at the George Washington University Law School, USA. Under his co-chairmanship on the core group of the National Committee on Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Financing of Terrorism set up with the aim to remove Mauritius from the Financial Action Task Force grey list, Mauritius successfully exited the list. He is also responsible for the project of Mauritius being admitted as a participant member to the OECD Working Group on Bribery. He was also head of Mauritian delegate to the G20 meetings on anti-corruption held in India in 2023 and has undertaken a number of publications and contributed in numerous specialized journals and published a book on combating money laundering and terrorism finance, past and current challenges. So those who are doing their doctorate, please take note. Yes, just a small confession. So when we were preparing this workshop, I went to see DG and was asking DG, so we are going for this workshop and who will be the chief guest? And then DG said, who else? Now you understand why DG said that. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a big round of applause to Dr. Beekarry.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I really like this topic because, and I like the word, there's only one word in the theme that I like, it's the word implementation. And I'm going to make an appeal to you during your conversation in this workshop to give more attention to that term because it's a very important concept which we have very often neglected in the course of any of our deliberation. So we as humans, and I'm going to come back later to that, because I'm going to focus a little bit more on implementation. And when I talk about implementation, I have one qualifier all the time. When I came back from the United States in 2016, I came back with the word effectiveness. So if we are not effective, there's no point for us to really do what we are doing. And we as humans, and I will apologize for saying this, or I won't apologize, we are very good at making laws, making codes, rules, and so on and so forth. But we are not that smart at getting them effectively implemented. Because at the end of the day, whatever laws we do, we enact, whatever codes we build, and we need those laws, and we need those codes, and we need those rules, and we need those instruments. At the end of the day, if we are not able to implement the law and implement it in a very effective manner, there's no point. I mean, if we go to the library in any country, there are so many laws that have been enacted in given areas. Let's take corruption. I think most, if not all countries across the world have adopted the United Nations Convention or any other regional instruments on corruption for that matter. Excuse me. The level of corruption as per the different papers that have been published and the reality is not very good. If we use the Transparency International Index, although this is being put into question now, the picture about corruption level and the perception of corruption in especially the African countries is not good. I think we will agree with that. The thing is, we have to go back and try and understand how we are going to reverse this. And building integrity into the system is, for me personally and professionally, perhaps the key concept. Because, I mean, why should we be talking about integrity? Because we are born with it. We are born with certain values. When we grow up, our parents try to instill in us have certain values, and integrity and honesty are the basic and fundamental values. So why are we talking about integrity? The problem is we have lost it somewhere down the line. And this was and has been as a result of corruption to a large extent. So we are basically re-engineering the whole thing. We are seeking to go back to our roots in terms of values, because those are the pillars of anything in life. Integrity is simple. It cuts across any aspect of life. If you want to put up a building, I have a niece who came to see me last week, and she wanted some advice because she had contracted a building project to an architect and a building contractor. And she realized down the line, before the building was completed, that they had not been using the materials that were supposed to be used. And she was getting worried because she had paid so much and she was not getting what she had paid for. This is about integrity. And when you go down the line, you would not be surprised to see that perhaps the contractor or anybody else during that process had been involved in some irregular or corrupt activity. If you want to bring a child up, you want to have for that child to have the essential values for that child to grow up in a very strong and nice person. This is about integrity. Integrity is about everything. And we need to know where we got derailed and how we want to come back, if we want to do it. This is what integrity is all about. I mean, I'm not reading, I don't do that all the time. I'm not reading for my speech. I thank my colleagues for preparing them. But, there are certain issues that are like deep down in yourself. You just can't talk about it. So the word implementing is critical in your discussion. And we can talk about integrity from a very theoretical and intellectual perspective. And when I was reading the talk points that have been put up, and I also do my own research for that purpose, we are talking about two essential things. We are talking about personal integrity, and we are talking about institutional integrity. But at the end of the day, they are both connected because one depends on the other. And if we don't get it right, we are not going to make it. That's simple as that. And I'm going to link it with corruption in a minute. So I don't want to go too much into, personal integrity and institutional integrity. I think the code, when you go through it, I've read it last night, it builds on some essential pillars, which really at the end of the day is going to ensure stronger integrity in the system, in customs, in the MRA, and in any other institution for that matter. Accountability, transparency, oversight, integrity, honesty. These are, just go through the code, I'm sure you've done it. These are the pillars of what's going to be this code, right? Because this is what's going to build and strengthen your institution based on stronger integrity, which is a core value of any person, personally or at work. And when you have those values and you've been able to understand and realize that we need those, your institution is going to benefit, your workplace is going to benefit from that kind of values. So individual integrity and institutional integrity. It's basically a conscious and consistent system of values which serves as guidance for making decisions and taking actions. And I think Ms. Hampton really hit the nail on the head when she mentioned that, we are really talking about putting things in action. We are really talking about, we've done this rule, we've enacted this legislation, but we need to know that we are also obligated and we have a responsibility, because I think the Director General mentioned that integrity is about responsibility. We have a responsibility to ensure that we are implementing it. And make no mistake, this is not an easy task. It's not a short-term thing either. It's a long haul. It's going to take time. Building integrity in the institution, even personally, depending on how far we have deviated, it takes a long time. It's going to take a long time. But the only way we can do it is we ensure that we are actually effectively implementing the basic principles, the pillars that we have included in that code. Corruption and integrity. I think this is what we want to talk about. Now, I think in the course of combating corruption, because at the end of the day, we are really talking, when we're talking about integrity, we are really talking about combating corruption. In fact, we can say that building integrity is an antidote of corruption. Because what is corruption all about? It's not about investigating somebody, prosecuting that somebody, getting a fine, going to prison. It's about that, yes, but it's about more than that. It's about being able to understand what has gone wrong with corruption. And I'm sure you know about it. Corruption undermines, this talk has been going on for ages. Corruption undermines the whole fabric of society. And at the end of the day, it undermines the person itself, because this is where it starts. But when you start losing your value, from the example that I've just given about my niece, something has gone wrong somewhere. And if you dig further, you will not be surprised to see that there has been a corrupt act somewhere in the process. I use an example, and I've used that for ages. If you want to put up a building, you just got married, and you have a child. You come from a very modest family. Your wife doesn't work. You are the only person who is a breadwinner. You have a child. You live in one room. Your wife is going to be having a second child. The one room is no longer enough space. You want to build another room. So the way you do that is to go to the bank and get a loan. And the bank gives you 3 months for interest rate purposes, because interest rates fluctuate. So you have a moratorium period of 3 months to use the loan. But you also need to go to the local government authority or municipality, council, or whatever, to get a permit, what is known as a building permit. Right. So you apply for the loan, you get your loan, you have 3 months, you apply for your building permit, it's 1 year, and you have not yet obtained your building permit. Right? You have lost your loan. Your second baby is coming. So what do? You go to the municipality, you talk to your friend, and your friend said to you, just give 1,000 rupees. Why are you wasting your time? The officer at the local government is looking for 1,000 rupees. Just give me 1,000 rupees and you'll get your permit. And the guy said no. His friend said to him, well, tough luck for you. You have lost your loan. You will be waiting for another 2 years or 3 years. Your baby will be 5-year-old in 5 years' time. You will be still in that one room. So you have a choice. So the guy says, I'm going to give the 1,000 rupees. I don't have any choice. This is where it all starts. Now, if you use, for those who are economists, you use what is known as the multiplier effect. And you take this example and you multiply it by 100,000, 100,000, the system starts getting messed up. It starts getting totally corrupt. That officer at the municipal council is one person. If you have another officer at another institution, it starts getting really messy. So that's the impact that corruption has. It destroys the fabric of the society. It can be in the FCC. Nobody is perfect. You could have somebody from the FCC who is acting corruptly, or the MRA, or the judiciary, or the Attorney General's office, or politicians. Can be anywhere. So this is in a very simple language, and I'm sure you've lived this through your life. I won't be surprised. And this is what it's all about. And where did it start? It started with that guy from the municipal council who lost his values and thought that by breaking the rule and taking the 1,000 rupees, he would be helping this guy and helping himself. But he's doing a disservice to the whole system. Because at the end of the day, this is where corruption has permeated the whole system, and it becomes really difficult to address it. You can arrest somebody. You will not be able to arrest everybody. You can get somebody convicted, but you won't be able to get everybody convicted. This is why, at some point in time, the global community thought that it would be important to build into the anti-corruption strategy education and prevention, which is all about integrity. Prevention in the anti-corruption field is about building integrity. The other term that is used is systems enhancement. In other words, you want to strengthen your institution. I want to work with you, or you want to work with me in developing this code. You want to know from us how we are going to do this in practice. So this is what prevention and education, and then you're going to sensitize people through training, like this one you're going to have, about how to get this whole thing done. This is what prevention is in combating corruption. So this is the famous three-pronged approach in combating corruption: enforcement, education, prevention. Building integrity, if you want my view, I have been at this for quite a long time. Building integrity in system is probably the most important part of combating corruption. Why? Because this is the only way you're going to be able to measure change and impact. If you're not able to do that, you won't be able to measure. You should be able to come, you have adopted a code, you should be able to come down in 2 years' time and say, and ask ourselves, what have we achieved? How has this code helped us to move forward? Are we able to measure the change that are taken place? This is what building integrity is all about. Excuse me. And I, for one, believe that if we are able to build integrity personally, professionally, and in the institution, we would be doing perhaps the most important part of our work. So at the end of the day, it's all about really re-engineering those values in a manner that ensures that we are going to be able to really get the system to become more strong or stronger and on more solid foundation. Because integrity, whatever you want to call it at different level, it's about building the foundation. Building values is the foundation of any society, any institution, any person. And we make mistakes. Don't be ashamed of it. Everybody makes mistakes. We live in an imperfect world. The only thing that we can do to try and correct the mistakes and change course and help ourselves, our institution, and our country, and the region, of course. And by getting together in the region, we are really building synergies across a broader platform. In Mauritius, third point, I won't be long. The Financial Crime Commission is the latest development in the Mauritius strategy in combating financial crime. We are not only now looking at combating corruption and money laundering, we are also going to be looking at fraud, financial fraud, and the financing of drug dealing and other offenses. So what it had done is it had learned from like 20 years of experience from 2002 up till now. We have learned from our experience and come up with a conclusion that we have been able to do so much. We had many agencies and institutions. It's time now to be able to bring related functions under one roof. Because it did not make sense for a small country, limited resources, to have multiple agencies doing more or less similar work, wasting resources, not talking to one another, not really doing anything good. We have done a lot, but I think the time came when government realized that it would be better in the interest of the country and the region and globally to have one agency that really oversees all relevant and related functions. Because when you're investigating, you're prosecuting, you're seizing asset, you're doing unexplained wealth, they're all related. And building integrity in the system is important. We have made two changes in the law. First, we do what is called corruption prevention reviews, which is basically looking at systems and trying to improve it. And there is an obligation now, if an institution is doing a corruption prevention review and does not do it, does not implement it, it's going to be sanctioned. Secondly, we have integrated in the law the possibility to measure change, to measure impact. You are doing an integrity project. We want to know in 1 year, 2 years, what have you achieved? Government in Mauritius has done 2 projects, which are building up slowly, related to what you're going to be talking about, building integrity. Government has designated 75 public officers in all its institutions known as integrity officers, 2 in each agency, working together with us to try and promote integrity. The second project that government has adopted is what is known as corruption risk assessment. It has decided that institutions should come up yearly with 2 corruption risk assessment, and this is going to be monitored. So these are some of the changes that are coming up with the Financial Crime Commission. I'm going to complete now, and I'm sorry if I'm taking a little bit long, with the issue of implementation. I think this is key. You're going to be talking about this today and tomorrow, and when you go back as well. If there is one message that I can share with you and make an appeal, it's to focus on how we're going to make the system work. How are we going to implement the code? How are we going to make sure that it is effective? Like I said earlier, we have laws, we put in place institutions, we develop codes, but we need to be able to make it work effectively. That's why I think it's important to focus on, when you're discussing about implementing the code, about this concept of effective implementation. Finally, on regional collaboration, I think this is a great initiative, and I must thank the Director General and his colleagues for coming up with this topic. And it's related to corruption, fraud, but I think to be able to talk about implementation is a major step forward. And that's why I congratulate the MRA, the Director General, his officers, for really coming up with this issue, because it's no longer about building laws, about developing codes, about instruments, legal, whatever. It's about implementation. Are we able to implement whatever we have put down in paper? And I think the regional dimension and context, the world is getting smaller. The more we share our experience together, I think the better we're going to get at really improving the system across borders. We can learn from your country. You can learn from ours. At the FCC, we work closely with 8 countries on the region, closely. By closely, I mean we send officers to the agencies in a different country. They send their officers to us. We share and exchange information on bilateral basis. We share our projects. We work with 8 countries on the continent. We just had an officer come back from Mali, and she spent 2 weeks there. We sent an officer for 1 month to Seychelles, and they do the same. So this is what regional cooperation is all about. It's no longer about talking. It's about putting in action. I will conclude by thanking you all. I welcome and all our visitors and guests and friends. I am really looking forward to share everything that we have been able to build over the recent time. We want to learn from your experience as well. At home, we are building stronger cooperation among agencies under the new law. And I think it all goes in the same direction, that we need to understand that there are 2 or 3 only messages. We need to build ourselves up, our integrity, our institution, and we need to put in action everything that we are really developing. So I thank you all. I thank the Director General and your colleagues, and I wish you all the best in your deliberation. I apologize, I've taken some time and I've not read my speech, so thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Beekarry, for your inspiring keynote address. Your visions have set the tone for our workshop. We are grateful for your thought-provoking insights. Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard inspiring words from our speakers, and I hope you feel as energized and motivated as I do. So I will end with these words from Henry Ford. Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success.